This one's insane. Here's a CBS News exclusive, and this might come as a surprise to absolutely no one in this community. A U.S. Marine accused of kidnapping child from Afghan couple.
It begins on the battlefield in Afghanistan in September 2019, when a counterterrorism team zeroed in on this remote compound. Baby Elle was severely injured in the raid, and her parents were killed. She was roughly 2 months old. This former Army Ranger, who we'll call David for security reasons, was on the mission, which combined U.S. and Afghan forces. David says partner Afghan forces then suggested throwing the baby in a nearby river.
They wanted me to throw the baby into the river because they believed that she was a terrorist.
6 additional Army Rangers also on the mission backed up David's account. The Army Rangers made a car seat from scraps and medical equipment. A bandage wrapped around her head en route to a U.S. military hospital is one of her first known pictures. Joshua Mast, a Marine lawyer, was deployed to Afghanistan at the time. He wasn't on the raid, but says he heard about the child from his boss. When Mast learned about the baby, he called his wife Stephanie, who was in the U.S. raising the couple's sons.
The moment when we heard about her for the first time, it wasn't a difficult decision to make. It was just, there was an innocent child caught in an unfortunate situation, and we wanted to see if there's anything we could do to help, and we were able to.
What the fuck? Give the baby back. What is going on? That's insane. Are they on national television saying, no, this is like our baby now because it's a better place for this baby to grow because of the conditions that we directly cultivated in the baby's actual like normal habitat environment? This man is saying finders keepers to a child. This sounds like everything that you've heard so many times over because it's the exact same. This is a part of plunder. This is a part of imperialism. This is a part of like colonialism. It's just, it has happened so many times and it will continue to happen.
As the child was treated in a military hospital, the Mast began the process of officially adopting Baby Elle in the U.S. Meanwhile, the Afghan government and the International Red Cross searched for Baby Elle's biological family in Afghanistan. According to court documents, the baby was eventually given to an Afghan couple. The then Afghan government determined the husband to be the baby's first cousin. In a federal lawsuit, the Afghan couple claims the Mast encouraged them to bring the baby to the U.S. solely for medical care, but never told them they had already adopted the baby.
Were you clear with the couple about your adoption?
Yes, because we were explaining substantively that we have to treat her like our other children in a way that to communicate the clearest we could that, hey, we're responsible for under U.S. law.
But on the word adoption,
sure.
Did you use the word adoption?
I don't think I used the word adoption. We were trying to explain again in a way that they would understand because they don't have a concept of
We didn't use the word adoption because it was kidnapping.
Adoption in Afghanistan.
Over a 3-month period, CBS News reached out to the Afghan couple for an interview. Their lawyers declined, most recently citing the court gag order. As Kabul fell, the Afghan couple and the baby were evacuated by U.S. forces, first to Ramstein Air Base in Germany, where the Masts met them at a refugee camp. Baby Elle was now about 2 years old.
When you found her, did you...
Bro, bring the fucking parents to the United States of America right now and give them the kid back. What the fuck? What is happening? Give the cousins the child back. The legal guardians, the cousin, the legal guardian of the child should be the one who raises the child. What the fuck is going on?
That's where the fight over this child really begins. Tomorrow in part 2, we'll show you the chaotic moment the child was transferred to the Mast. The Afghan couple says they did not know the Mast had officially adopted the baby in the U.S. and were blindsided when the Mast took custody. Plus, the surprising DNA evidence and why the U.S. government is taking such a strong position in this case.
It seems like, Catherine, you could say a lot would be lost in transition and with culture. And
why are they so... What? Bro, this has to be like reinforcing the narrative that like our enemies, even if they are civilians, they're not enemy combatants, like they're not human. They're subhuman, and therefore they don't have the normal feelings that a human being would have, like, you know, the loss of a child by an invading force. Like, you can't be this callous when talking about this kind of thing unless you just, like, they're talking about this like it's a heartwarming story when it's kidnapping. What the fuck? I mean, this is wild.
With how they do things there. Do you think the couple really didn't know that they were giving the baby up for adoption?
On the question of adoption, the simple explanation in Afghanistan is that it's much more of a guardianship system. I mean, this is probably one of the most complex investigations I've ever taken on, and it's got this incredible emotional overlay. Right. And then you've got the Defense Department, the Justice Department, the State Department, the Taliban, all weighing in about the future of not only this child, but both of these families.
Yeah. Two households saying we're in a position to love this child,
That's
we
right.
want this child, and two countries saying, you know, this is the best place for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm really looking forward to part 2.
Thank
Catherine,
you.
What the fuck? Bro, this is bananas. I mean, what? This is unhinged for even mainstream media. I've never seen, what? Am I crazy? I feel like I've eaten crazy pills. They are talking about this like it's a documentary or a movie. This is real life. You're covering a kidnapping of a baby from the brutal invading forces. Why has CBS chosen to take the side of the kidnappers in this situation? It's kind of weird. It's not even, it's like very odd. Orphaned Afghan child still in custody, a U.S. Marine accused of abducting her. We thought within 1 week she'd be back to us, the woman told the AP. Yet 2 months after an AP report on the high-stakes legal fight over the child raised alarms at the highest levels of government, from the White House to the Taliban, the baby remains with U.S. Marine Corps Major Joshua Mast and his family. The Masts claim in court documents that they legally adopted the child and that the Afghan couple's accusations are outrageous and unmerited. And their argument hinges on Afghan people, which, you know, they don't even really consider people, don't have a concept of adoption. So they didn't know that they were like giving the baby up for adoption to me. That's it. We are all concerned with the well-being of this child who's at the heart of this matter, said the White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. Sure. Last month, the U.S. Justice Department filed a motion to intervene in the legal wrangling over the fate of the child, arguing that the mass adoption should never have been granted. The government has said mass attempts to take the child directly conflicted with a U.S. foreign policy decision to reunite the orphan with their Afghan family. They asked that the case be moved from a rural Virginia court to a federal court, but were denied by presiding circuit court judge Richard E. Moore. Additionally, federal authorities say multiple investigations are underway. We all just want resolution for this child, whatever it's going to be, so her childhood doesn't continue to be in limbo. Samantha Freed, a court-appointed attorney assigned to look after the best interest of the child. We need to get this over right now. There are no do-overs. We need to get this right now. The legal fight has taken more than a year. Freed is worried it could take months, maybe even years more. The child is now 3.5 years old. The Afghan family spoke with the AP on the condition of remaining anonymous out of fear for their safety and concerns for their relatives back in Afghanistan. Mast became enchanted with the child while on temporary assignment in Afghanistan in late 2019. The fuck does that mean? Just a few months old, the infant has survived a special operations raid that killed her parents and 5 siblings. This guy killed this little baby's parents and 5 fucking siblings and was like, I'm kidnapping. I'm taking this one home with me. What? Oh, this is the guy. This is the guy that also refused for the federal government to step in on this case, by the way. Same judge, I guess. So if you want to understand what his perspective on the matter is going to look like, I mean, in a U.S. military hospital, the Afghan government and International Committee of Red Cross identified her relatives and through meetings with the State Department arranged for their reunification. Child's cousin and his wife, young newlyweds without children yet on their own, wept when they first saw her, they said. Taking her in and raising her was the greatest honor of their lives. Nonetheless, Mast, in spite of orders from the military officials to stop intervening, was determined to take her home to the United States. He used his status in the military, appealed to political connections in the Trump administration, and convinced the small-town Virginia court to skip some of the usual safeguards that govern international adoptions. Finally, when the U.S. military withdrew from Afghanistan last summer, he helped the family get to the United States. After they arrived, they say, he took the baby from them at Fort Pickett, Virginia Army National Guard Base. They haven't seen her since and are suing to get her back. The family's accounts is that they wanted to, like, they claim that they gave the baby so that he could take medical care of her. I think that's what they said, right? The Afghan woman gave birth to a daughter just weeks after the girl they'd been raising was taken away from them. Every time they buy an outfit or a present for their daughter, they buy a second matching one for the child they pray will come back to them soon. The Masts did not respond to repeated requests for an interview. Didn't they plan to toss her in the river, baby terrorist? Brother, that is literally the fucking, that's the CBS take. That's the Afghan forces that, you know, are not exactly great, as we all know. That's the claim that the American forces made, saying that the Afghans on the joint conducted raid on this fucking compound decided to throw the baby in the river. This is way past that, okay? Yeah, the baby had a skull fracture and second-degree burns from the attack. They used the damage that the attack that killed her family to use that as a reason to take her. How fucking insane. 5 siblings dead, parents dead in the fucking joint attack, and then the people that killed the parents and that killed the fucking 5 siblings turn around and go, oh, this baby, and injured the baby, decide, hey, we gotta fucking heal this baby. And that's what they use to kidnap this child. In court filings, Mass says he acted admirably to bring the child to the United States and care for her with his wife. They say they've given her a loving home and have done nothing but ensure she receives the medical care she requires at a great personal expense and sacrifice. Mass celebrated his adoption of the child, whose Afghan family is Muslim, as an act of Christian faith. Oh my God, he's such a gross freak, dude. All of these legal proceedings are taking a fuckload of time, and I think this legal paperwork that they're throwing in the way of the Afghan family is a deliberate attempt to stall, because these are formative years for the child's development. After a certain point, after 7 fucking years or whatever, or 5 fucking years, then it's going to be too late. They're going to say, well, it's actually really fucked up. This child has grown in the United States of America in this loving family and believes to be a part of this loving family. It is like unimaginably cruel. Unimaginably fucking cruel. The toddler's future is now said to be decided in a sealed secret court case in rural Virginia. In the same courthouse that granted Mass custody, the federal government has described the custody order as unlawful, improper, deeply flawed, and incorrect, because it was based on a promise that Afghanistan would waive jurisdiction over the child, which never happened. The day Mass and his wife, Stephanie Mass, were granted final adoption, the child was 7,000 miles away with an Afghan couple who knew nothing about it. So an American court in Virginia, conducted by this judge who's like a racist piece of shit who decided the Confederate statues could not be fucking moved, that racist dickhead decided thousands of miles away that, yes, you bald fuck, Mr. Mass, have the right, the legal jurisdiction to kidnap this Afghan child. So then they brought the family to America. Under false pretenses, they stole the child, they stole the baby, and refused to give it back now. Now, considering the fact that the child's family, immediate relatives who do want to take care of her, are in the United States of America, unless Masts have something to do with that, I believe that they would probably also get them kicked off if they could, kicked out of the country if they could. You might be asking yourself the understandable question: why the fuck does this American family have to take care of this baby when the Afghan family's here? Well, to that, I have an answer for you. It's, I just want to keep the baby. That's it. That's the argument. And you can't do anything about it because my Christian faith decided that I, a white savior, will take care of this child. That's it. That's literally the only argument here. There's nothing else. White entitlement, colonizer brain, unimaginably cruel. What is also additionally disgusting by CBS is that this is a 2-parter docuseries or investigation that they've conducted. And the investigation is being brought up like this fascinating phenomena with so much uncertainty. When the terms are very uncertain, the terms are very certain. The federal government thinks that this is a kidnapping. They think this is unjustifiable. Think about that. The American federal government thinks this is unacceptable. But CBS News doing everything they can to do agitated propaganda. That's how this fucking shit works.
How do you respond to allegations that your family kidnapped the child?
I would say they're false. We have been honest about who we are and our concerns over the child from the very first day.
According to court documents, the Afghan couple eventually relocated to Texas. The woman gave birth to a daughter not long after Baby Elle was transferred to the Mass. She told the Associated Press that every time she buys an outfit or present for her daughter, they buy a matching one for Baby Elle. For the last 16 months, Baby Elle has lived with the Mass and their 4 sons.
Why are you sharing her story now?
I think the reason that we chose to
do PR. That's it. That's it. That's why they're talking about it, because it's PR. They know the court case is like open and shut, and they want to do PR, and they know that CBS is a perfect outlet that will do this white supremacist agitated propaganda. They will do the public relations for them. Look at this beautiful white couple. Look at this beautiful white Christian thing that they did. Unimaginable, dude.
Last fall, the Taliban posted a video claiming Joshua Mast, quote, forcefully took Baby Elle. They vowed to seriously pursue the issue with American authorities. So the child is, quote, returned to her relatives. The U.S. State Department told CBS News that reuniting the child with the family members in Afghanistan was the right thing to do. Our position at that time, as well as our position now, is straightforward. In court papers, the Justice Department also said granting the Mass custody and adoption of the baby are contrary to the foreign policy interests of the United States, and Mass actions were in violation of Virginia law. But a Virginia judge in the adoption case recently found there was no DNA evidence presented to show any likely family relation because the Afghan couple had resisted DNA testing.
3.5-year-old, which is Baby L's age now, same age as Teddy. You're chatty, you're aware. If you've been living with this family for 18 months, any kind of movement out of there is going to be hard.
But on the contrary, they spent nearly the same amount of time living with the Afghan family, right?
But
So it's
at a younger age.
At a much younger age.
But the Afghan family doesn't want to present any DNA evidence, number one. And number two, this only became an issue because both of her parents, excuse me, were killed in the war.
Correct.
So that's why she's an orphan.
And as Gail mentioned yesterday, things can't get lost in translation.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's so much he say, she say with how their accounts aren't matching up.
This is wild, dude. There is no he said, she said in this situation. It's literally he said versus everybody else who's correct. And everybody else also includes the Afghan government, the family members, the immediate family members of the baby, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, the motherfucking American federal government, dude. Their approach is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in a story like this. You can tell they sat there talking about it forever yesterday off camera. It is so weird. Like, why are they doing this? Why did they choose to take on the story with this kind of coverage?
The mass, the military service members, the nurses, the doctors that helped care for her.
But the Justice Department doesn't appear to be supporting
the Justice Department is very clear that they feel that this adoption should never have happened, and they say...
Look, this is the type of comment that I'm surprised I haven't gotten yet while covering the story. Bro, life in Afghanistan for women under the Taliban is way worse than life in the U.S. Babies living the dream right now. Yeah, dude, totally. We should kidnap every Afghan baby, actually, as a matter of fact. Except the parents are in Texas, you fucking idiot. What you said is unimaginably fucking insane and cruel. Like, you can't just literally kidnap children. What you are describing is the white supremacist justification for war crimes. It is a war crime. It is like a universally recognized war crime to just like kidnap children after fucking destroying their lives and killing their parents. But that is a justification as old as time itself. We did this with indigenous people after destroying them. We did this with black people. Your description is super old. Part of the reason why, you know, people consider it to be like a universally recognized war crime. Everybody does it. But also on top of that, parents are in, the Afghan parents are now in America. So that argument doesn't even hold.
It's a violation of U.S. foreign policy interests.
I hope the judge
Afghan family hasn't proven that they're really related to this little girl.
And the prospects for a little girl in Afghanistan are not very good, as we've reported on this show.
Right.
But the Afghan couple is living here in the United States
and will
right
stay?
now. Well, they were paroled into the United States almost 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years ago in August. The Department of Homeland Security can't discuss specific cases, but there is a process to ultimately decide whether they would remain in the U.S.
She's clearly loved by two families.
Amazing story, Catherine.
Deeply loved by two families.
Yep. Yeah, she is.
Boy, that's complicated. Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
They aren't her parents, they're her cousins? What the fuck do you mean, brother? Yes, I know. They are her parents. They are the cousins of the child, and they have custody over the child. You want to know why they aren't her parents, like her immediate biological mom and dad? Because they were fucking killed in a raid. That's next of kin. The fuck do you mean? That's usually what happens when the American military conducts a joint operation with the Afghan military and murder your fucking 5 siblings and your mom and dad and brutalize you as a baby. So then what's going to happen? They murdered your family. What are you supposed to do? Like, there's no other situation in which like a serial killer decides to fucking kill an entire family and then brutalize a baby as well. And then the serial killer's best friend, who also is a serial killer, decides, I'm going to take this baby for me, actually. And the fucking victim's family, immediate family members are like, no, we're right here. Give us the fucking baby back. And you're like, nah, this should stay with the other serial killer, actually. We've decided. Because a serial killer court thousands of miles away that loves serial killers decided to fucking give you the legal right and jurisdiction over this other child and allow you to kidnap it. Oh, my brain is like fried from all this.